To say goodbye. Marcel and I go way back. Actually, back in 2013, I was looking for a recording studio closer to home, and his recording studio apparently was a couple of cities over. But I didn't want to travel too far from home, you know? So I kept looking for recording studios closer to my city, and I did find a couple, but the studio technicians were not very serious about making music, and they were only in it to make a quick buck, and I was not about that life. So I kept looking, and I couldn't find any studio closer to home. For some reason, I ended up back on the website of Marcel's studio. I sent him another message, and he responded. He said, "You have already contacted me, and I told you that you could come in and we will do an intake and we will discuss your project and we will discuss what we can do for each other." So then I had to go back to my sent items, and that is when I noticed that it was exactly to the day a year prior that I had contacted him. The whole thing seemed like a sign to me. I said, this is Kismet, this is the guy that I have to go with, and that's what I did, and I never looked back. Working with Marcel has always been a joy. It is the perfect blend of his talent with mine and my talent with his. And in addition to that, Marcel is the only person I know who understands my musicality like nobody else does. And that is such a plus when you work together, you know, recording music and stuff. He has never forced me to sing like so-and-so because that style of singing is hot, it's hip, it's happening, so you need to do it too. He has always respected what I bring to the table. He has always respected that this is the talent that I was blessed with, this is the talent that we're going to work with, and we will make it work, and that I try to manage that talent to the best of my ability. Something else that I really do appreciate about working with Marcel is his eye for detail and quality. Marcel is the kind of producer that will go the distance to make sure that the finished product sounds incredible. If something doesn't sound right, he will go back and fix it until it sounds right because he doesn't want to compromise on quality. I'm the One You Need is the very first song that Marcel and I have worked on together. It is my second single, but it's the first single that I had pressed on my own label, AMARU Music. I simply wanted to have a tangible piece of evidence to prove to people that, look at me, I'm a recording artist, if that makes any sense. In my earlier projects, I always incorporated this rosary, not because I'm Catholic or religious, but when we moved from my native country, the Republic of Suriname in South America, to this country, life was not very good for us. We've lived with friends and family. We've even lived in shelters. So my birthday was coming up and my mom didn't know what to get me. So we decided to go to the mall, and in the gift shop of a basilica, I saw this rosary and I said to my mother, "That's what I want for my birthday." And she was like, are you serious? We're not Catholic, we're not religious, what's going on? I said, "Mother, that's what I want." And it was only $5. So the rosary is to remember the olden days, but it also symbolizes the presence of my mother when she couldn't be present at one of my projects. Close your eyes and take a dive. Baby, I'm falling for you. Maybe you'll fall for me too. Maybe this is no deja vu. Maybe I'm the one you need. Maybe I'll be there for you. Maybe there for me too. You and me equal love times two. Baby, I'm the one you need. Hey, Atlanta. Baby, I'm the one you need. Songwriting is different for everybody. Some people can just sit behind a piano when they start to play something, or they start to play something on the guitar and something magical happens, and next thing you know, they have a new song. For me, almost all of the time, the inception of my song starts with a melody that I hear in my head, and it is so persistent, it doesn't leave my system, upon which I have to rush to my recording device to record what I hear because I don't want to forget it because I'm old. And then I have to sit myself down to wonder and to ponder, is this something that I need to look into? Because I do believe that that is inspiration that is sent to you from the universe, from God. So that is how all of my songs start, and I do sit myself down and I work on the melody that I hear. Sometimes I can see words on a billboard, on the package of something, and I say to myself, this is a nice word, or this is a nice couple of words that I can use for lyrics. And that is also a way that I create my songs. Of my melanin, traces of my melanin. With Traces of My Melanin, I kept hearing this very staccato beat playing over and over in my head. It went and I said to myself, this is something that I need to look into, and I did. So this is how the universe works. Prior to that moment, I was watching a documentary about the dangers of the sun and sunscreen and melanin and how you need to protect your skin and whatever have you. So I wrote down the word melanin for some reason. And then when I kept hearing this melody in my head, I wrote down something. You left me behind. You left me behind, because that's what I kept hearing. So days later, when I sat myself down to, work on this song, I saw the words again, melanin and you left me behind. So then I said, wait a minute, you left me behind, something from the past, melanin, the color of my skin. I kind of put those two together and I decided this song is going to be a tribute. And it became a tribute. Traces of My Melanin is a tribute to the many contributions that my people have made to society. Can you see the traces? Can you see the traces? Can you see the traces? So bakenti. Can you see the traces? Can you see the traces? Can you see the traces of my melanin? Traces of My Melanin has become one of the biggest songs in my catalog, and the music video has won 15 International Film Awards thus far, and I'm very proud of that. On my website, I have dedicated an entire web page describing in depth the thought process behind the song and the video treatment. Now, in music production, there is a process that is referred to as stacking. To stack in the English language means to place on top of each other, to layer, to build, if you will. And as it pertains to recorded vocals, that is exactly what we do. The key is to start off with a basic lead vocal that is close to perfect, and you will then record separate tracks of parts of that vocal, and then you will place those separate tracks under that basic lead vocal. You will then place them on top of each other. The key is every take has to start, it has to be perfectly aligned with that lead vocal, and every note at the end has to be the same length. Your intonation and your emotion have to be the exact same. My home I had to leave behind. You tried to take my voice. I fought and fought with all my might. You left me with no choice. There was nowhere for me to run. My soul you tried to break. The damage cannot be undone. My freedom was at stake. The fact that I'm still here today will prove to you my strength. Why did you bring me all this way if you won't make amends? The past will be the past, it doesn't matter what we say. May peace and love and hope and last wash all the pain away. So basically, you're singing along to your own voice, but in unison. And that is what stacking is. And that is why it is very important that all of those individually recorded tracks are identical. Because if that's not the case, your finished product, your recording is not going to be in unison, and that is not what you want. Now, something else that you have to keep in mind in music production is when you record vocals of any kind, you have to make sure that you record one set of vocals for the left channel and one set of vocals for the right channel, because we listen to music with both of our ears. If you don't do that, you're not going to enjoy the finished product. You're not going to enjoy the music in stereo, okay? And what stacking does for your recording, it improves your recording. It adds a lot of body and texture to your recording. And that is ultimately what every recording artist wants, because when people listen to your music, they want to enjoy it. So you have to go the distance to make sure that they get nothing but the very best. So stacking is definitely the way to go.
But I'll be moving, fighting, pushing, biting. I will scream till somebody hears me. Help a brother out.
So one of the things that I just love to do when I'm at the recording studio is to record the harmonies and the backing vocals. A simple harmony will consist of 3 parts: the high part, the middle part, and the low part. And the recording process is exactly the same. You record and stack the high part.
Help a brother out.
You record and stack the middle part.
Help a brother out.
You record and stack the low part.
Help a brother out.
And when you're all done recording, when you're all done aligning all of the vocal tracks and you roll the playback, it will sound like music to your ears. People will think that there was an entire choir there singing along with you, but in fact, it was just you.
Help a brother out. On the TV, them I try to hook you in with fakery. Never stop speaking on inequality. That's the legacy of Martin Luther King. You gotta say something, do something.
The Crime of Silence is my 3rd album, and to be honest with you, I cannot wait to relinquish upon the people my collection of new songs. And I think that the people who appreciate my music will definitely notice my growth as a singer, a producer, a lyricist, a songwriter. And as excited as I am about this new release, I'm also very nervous, because even though I have done nothing but my very best with this new album, once the album is out there for everybody to consume, there is nothing else that you can do. So if you hear something that is still not perfect to your ears, there's nothing else that you can do. And at the end of the day, every recording artist wants their production, their album, their single to receive critical acclaim and mass appeal, or both, you know, so I'm no different in that respect. So hence the nerves. The crime of silence is a crime that everybody on planet Earth at some point or another has committed. And there's nothing wrong with that, because not everybody wants to speak on injustice, not everybody wants to stick their neck out, not everybody wants to get involved. I get that. But if we keep on committing the crime of silence, we are generating a society that is not safe, because in this day and age, all you have to do is look at somebody and they want to stab you. So while it is noble to speak on injustice of any kind, I also implore people to use caution when, where, how am I going to address this injustice that I've just witnessed. The thing is, I'm not trying to get anybody killed here. I'm not interested in a mass gathering in your honor. Everybody's wearing the same clothes, singing the same song, but you're not there. You're on display in a box. That is not what I want for anybody. But at the same time, I do want people to continue to speak on all the atrocious acts that we as people perpetrate on ourselves. The final stages of your audio recording are mixing, mastering, and digital fingerprinting, adding the metadata to your track. And especially the last one is very important. If your audio recording doesn't contain all the metadata that are required, your track is going to get lost in the sauce and your performance rights organization will not be able to monitor your airplay. That will cost you a lot of revenue and that is not necessary. Mixing, on the other hand, is the process of combining all of those individually recorded tracks into one single track. And it's a very tedious process. You have to think about the lead vocal, all of the tracks of backing vocals, but also all of the instruments that are played, the guitar, the keyboards, and whatever have you. So all of those individually recorded tracks have to now be turned into one single track. And it requires a lot of patience and fresh ears. And speaking of fresh ears, when you're busy mixing your audio, you have to make sure that you're focused, because the key is to find a perfect balance between all of those individually recorded tracks that are now going to be turned into one. So you want to make sure that you have a perfect balance between the lead vocal and the backing vocal. You don't want one to overpower the other. So that is why it is very important that you're focused. And this is where mastering comes into play, because any imperfection that you hear after mixing, you can correct in mastering. So even mastering requires fresh ears and good ears. And both Marcel and I have very good ears. At the beginning of this documentary, I stated that I was very excited and very nervous at the same time about the release of my new album, The Crime of Silence. The fact of the matter is, once your album is out there for the world to consume and to scrutinize, there's nothing else that you can do. You don't know how somebody's going to interpret your life's work, and that is where the anxiety comes in. But I have to let it go and I have to accept it. I can only say that I have done nothing short of my very best, and I hope that the people will listen to this record with an open mind and an open heart and without prejudice, because it is the story of me.
Without integrity, they can't be loved.